today, or are you going to have to wait for it to dry before you finish it?
Oh, I'm going to try to finish it.
Oh, good.
We'll see.
Because when you were talking about making mud, I thought, oh no.
Okay, it's on 10 seconds.
There it goes.
There we
It's
go.
counting numbers now.
Yeah.
Is it going?
But it still was leaning. It's starting to lean a little more.
So
I'll
when
pull
it's
it back.
recording, it's blinking.
I don't know what it's, but
Rats.
oh well. I'm going to just paint.
Okay.
It is what it is. We're working on it.
A work in progress. Oh, look at her hair.
Isn't that lovely?
Wow.
Okay. Y'all are making fun of me. That's okay.
No, it's not. in this, it went in this video.
Oh, that's funny. Okay, so when I
It won't do it.
is it going?
Yeah, it's
Okay.
going. I was just trying to shrink it in.
Okay, I just picked some generic brushes. This one's rounded. This one's not. I might end up getting my crummy brushes in a minute. I love my crummy brushes. There's an example of one that's had a haircut. And I'll do that probably when I work on the foliage. But what I want to do first is I want to create some lighter passes of the sky. The sky is the lightest light, and to me, I just find it somewhat easier to go ahead and lay the sky in before I do the dark trees. Some people prefer to do the dark trees, but since I have the trees kind of already drawn in with acrylic, I can just go over that.
A bunch of times just to
If you want it thicker, just to make your paint thicker, I have this medium in it.
What's your medium?
Whatever this is, Gamlin solvent-free gel. You can use liquid too, but I'm not going to be too concerned with these trees. I'm just trying to fill in. I don't want to necessarily paint around all the branches because I'm going to be painting over them. And a lot of times when I do skies, I use horizontal strokes. But, it's all right. Change your ways. So I just turn it a little sideways, fill in. Your sky typically has a lighter tone toward the bottom, toward your horizon, then up in the zenith as you look up into the sky, it gets darker. So I'm going to create that darkness up here. And I'm not even looking at my photo, paying attention, because some of that was trees. So I'll show you the joy of having
Is that ultramarine blue and white?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Okay,
That's
so
really beautiful.
what I'm saying is you really should pay attention to your photos. I was just painting along. I was painting when my mind wasn't there. Was it paint? Don't paint when you're not at home. That's a Karen Margulis thing. Because we do that. Sometimes we just get into that paint, and then you realize you're painting something you didn't mean to paint. And that happens a lot. So, but I still have fun. So I'm paying a little closer attention. I want light coming down near the path. Here's where I want the path to end. But that's too dark. Pick up some more white. And I'll probably add some other warmth to it. But I just turn my brush sideways and just kind of scumbling in. I just really prefer to do it that way. That's more me.
You're intentionally trying to let some of those purple poke through, right?
Mm-hmm. Right. I do want
it
some
to
of
have
that.
that hazy look.
Mm-hmm. Well, not only that, but when I go back and paint the trees, I don't have to redraw them.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So, hey.
That's a biggie.
Why not?
It's hard enough the first time.
Mm-hmm.
And then my path is about that value, but it's not that color. So I'm going to add a little purple to that and create more of a lavender path. So it's still, I want it a light value. But because my shadows, some of my shadows are already drawn in, it's helpful for me as to, remember when last week when I said where the pink is where the sun is?
Mm-hmm.
Y'all remember that?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So I've kind of, hopefully, kind of reinforced that. I want it a little brighter through here, but I'll get that more with some of the foliage. Because these trees are airy, you know, I can just scumble across here and allow some of the light to shine through instead of it being real solid. You know, I'm painting pretty thin. This is not heavy application. Totally different than what Aaron Hansen would be doing. But this is probably what I do plein air. You know, just trying to lay it in barely, because again, this is the back layer, and the back layer needs to be thinner. So as I build, then I'll add to that. Now, leaning back, it's like, ooh, I see that all through here is foliage. So if I don't want that much, if I want to get rid of some of that, I can come in, because my background is dry. This is subtractive method. You can use a paper towel, you could use a brush. If you used a brush, you'd have to make sure that it's not too liquidy, because you don't want it to drip. But paper towels are a great painting tool, so sometimes you can just soften things with it, smooth it out.
Hey, I saw where Bill Inman doesn't use Viva anymore on one of his videos. Did you know that?
I've heard they changed the formula in Viva, and this isn't Viva. This is a Bounty probably,
Okay.
or a Sam's special. Because I don't use it to paint with all that much.
Mm-hmm.
It doesn't affect what I do with it. Okay. And sometimes I like the texture of the pattern.
Yeah.
I'll lay it down and rub it and lift it off, and it creates some kind of texture. But this gives me kind of a feel of what I want. I'm ignoring the glare of the sun right there. I don't want that to really be an emphasis. And I do want to add some warmth to this, because right now that's very cold. And this is where you get a little artist license. Karen Margulis does this a lot. Well, so does Marcia Savage. I want to add some warmth in here to the sky. So I mixed a little bit of yellow in the light blue mixture that I had. Can y'all see that it's slightly warmer? Mm-hmm. And I just like a variety. I would never paint this sky all with one color, and you know, this kind of just helps lead your eye down the path. And back there at the very back, I want that a little warmer. So I'm gonna lay in a little bit of brightness back in there. So as though and we're gonna have some yellow trees anyway, so that'll okay. So far? Mm-hmm. All right, so got my sky. Then I want to look at when I squint my eyes. The darkest darks are all my tree trunks. Your darkest darks will be your verticals. So almost any time you look outside, whatever is vertical, whether it's man-made, whether it's tree, whether it's a building, when you squint your eyes, that's going to be your darkest darks. Your sky's your lightest light. A flat plane, like the path here, will usually be your second lightest light. A slanted plane, like your hillside in here, is your third and then your fourth is your vertical. Now, there's light coming through the trees that have foliage, so they're not as dark as the trunks. So I think I'm going to shift to my my lovely tornette brush, because so what I love about painting with these is it's an organic shape. So I picked up a little bit of cad yellow with cad orange, and I'm looking for some of those brightest brights. You also want to always identify I've already identified my darkest darks. I just did my lightest lights. This is my most intense. And you don't have to put that in now, but I want to establish where that is. So my most intense, I have some right in through here. And I've got some in through here. That's lighter, so I'm going to pick up some lemon yellow. And some of this might get obliterated, but that's okay. And I might come back and add more later to pull in through the trees. But while I have it on my brush, I'm just looking around to see where I have some really bright, warm yellows. And I'm just bouncing around on the canvas to see where they are. And if I see a tree in front of it, I'm trying to go around the tree, because when I paint the trunk, if I have a lot of yellow on it, it probably won't read right. And there's a lot of warmth in through here, but most of it is with a lighter green. But while I have paint on my brush, and because I don't care if I scrub with this one, I'm just going to use it to get the rest of it off. Okay? Taking shape?
Mm-hmm.
All right, so now I'm going to go with a light orange. I see a lot of light orange mixed in with this yellow. So I'm just going to add a little more orange to the yellow, but I want it more yellow orange rather than cad orange. So there's some up in through here.
So what color did you just add?
I added more yellow to the cad orange. I didn't take straight orange.
Oh.
I wanted it yellower.
Lemon yellow to the cad orange.
No, I'll pick up both. I don't have much yellow left on my palette, but it was mostly cad yellow because it's warm. And I'll just kind of, again, I'm bouncing around with some of this color. What's neat too about the yellow, and so much of the yellow is in this orange, is orange and yellow and purple are opposites. So that's going to give it some vibrancy. Now I'm adding some of the orange to that mixture, plus a little cad red. I want it deeper, but not straight out of the tube kind of orange, if that makes sense. So this is going to be a little darker, deeper. And I'm just layering it on top. I'm kind of looking to see where I still have just plain back underpainting still showing, where I can kind of fill in. And okay, that's a little too vibrant for that part, so I'm going to knock that down by adding a little alizarin to it, making it a little darker, because if y'all have your photos, that's still a little vibrant. But I like bright colors, so I don't know about y'all, but because that particular part is too bright, because that little part right there is in shadow. That little part right there is in shadow, so I just went in and neutralized that a little bit. Anybody have any idea what I neutralized that with? What I mixed with that orange?
Purple.
Yep. Good answer. Purple is a great neutralizer when painting. Purple is opposite of yellow. There's a lot of yellow in these colors. Purple also is helps neutralize green. Now I'm kind of softening the edges on some of these because they're in the distance. I just see how I just kind of took the paint off the brush and I'm just scumbling it again. So this kind of establishes where the darks were in there, and then I have a little brighter orange back in here because that orange is more in the sunlight. And I didn't clean my brush, so it's a little duller. But I'll have some oranges down in here, and we're going to come back over with some greens.
Beautiful.
Is that making sense? I gotta back up. Oh, I should always back up. Over here, I want to neutralize some of what's down in here. So I like that neutral color, kind of a maroon that I ended up with. I like the color, so it's a great ground color. So while I've got that mix, that was the orangey red with a little of alizarin and a touch of purple. The purple neutralizes it. Makes a great shadow color, actually. So, and you add a little more orange ground tones to it, then this could be your basic base for all your tree leaves.
Huh.
Again, I'm not trying to do detail here. At this point, I'm just trying to kind of cover the initial layer. I'll come. None of this is finished yet. I'll come back and.
Are you going
more.
into your mineral spirits just to make it runny?
No, I hadn't touched it. That's a good question. Except for when I rinsed out my brush.
Oh, just the color. You're just trying to get the color to change it. Okay.
Yeah.
So, do you get a dab of that medium every time you're going to the canvas or not?
Mm-mm.
No.
No, actually, I haven't touched the medium much. Because I touched it when I was doing the white. The white was
Okay.
so stiff.
Oh, the background
Uh-huh.
sky?
Yeah. But if my paint will move without it, now I guess I could have added it just because it helps speed things up. But if my paint will move without it, I don't often use it.
You usually use cool colors to push your pathway back, but you put some brights, warms at the end of that pathway. So how are you going to push that color back to make it, you're going to leave your purple back there?
You talking about that yellow that she
Right
initially
there?
put back? I wondered the same thing, why you were doing that.
Because that's where I want my
That's the contrast.
that's where
That's your
I'm
focal
leading
point.
Okay.
you to. Now it's okay to have cool in the front, like this is going to be flooded with shadows here.
Right.
Because if it was really warm down here, it's going to keep your focus down here. Having cools here will help lead you in, and sometimes having soft blurs here because it's not going to be in fine focus. It helps your eye come into
Go
the
to
painting.
pathway.
We'll see if it works.
And you used some of that maroonish color for your tree shadows, but the actual trees you're going to do in a darker purple.
Oh, it'll have. I'm not exactly sure what colors it'll be per se, but yeah, it'll be darker. But that just made such a nice warm.
Yes.
Warm,
It
cool.
looks just like the photo, the same value.
I have some darks here, and I'm not doing the trunks with this crappy brush because I can't control the edge.
Right.
So I'll come back and lay that in. I'm adding some more orange to this mixture to create that ground. Now that's a little vibrant for the ground, but again, I like bright colors. I like color, and so if it's a little brighter than what it is in the photo or what it is in real life, I'm okay with that. That doesn't bother me.
You just make it look so darn easy, Karen.
Really?
Okay, what she's done would now take me about 5 hours.
I know,
Aw.
and I love it. It's just beautiful.
It's just gorgeous.
Okay, now what I'm not liking is this triangle here.
Yeah.
It was like,
Oh, yeah.
There's
Oh,
sort of
You
one
know,
in your photo, but it's
but
a lot.
not
The
as.
cross ones are
Yeah.
lighter.
So I'm gonna make this darker. This will end up being darker. This is gonna go across the grass. This will come and connect here. So you want
So
your darks to
You
connect.
made the other ones fade.
Yeah. And I'm gonna make this as shadows come towards you, they get whiter. Y'all hadn't noticed that? I didn't really notice that before. I used to think that, well, it's that wide, it should be that wide everywhere. So, and I'm blurring some of this too, because I want it to just soften up.
You're still using your haircut brush?
Mm-hmm. I am. I love it.
What's it made out of?
It's a chopped up brush.
I mean, it's just a cheap old
It
brush.
is a cheap old, yeah.
Well, you sure work wonders
Is
with that
yours
cheap
really,
old brush.
Is yours really stiff,
It's a
Carrie, or is
magic
it a
brush.
little bit
Oh,
softer?
it's stiff.
It's stiff.
Stiff
That's
old
mine,
magic
but-
brush.
All right, so I came back and went with some lighter tones to add to
What
the.
color did you add to that?
I added white to what I was working with. It kind of made it a
Okay.
peachy color,
Oh.
but
That's what I
that gave
figured you
more of the texture of the ground being covered with leaves. And what's weird is this side of the path is covered in leaves.
Yeah.
This side of the path
It's great.
Is
is
green. Yeah.
green.
That's confusing.
So
Yeah.
that's one of these things where
It's a Erin Hansen path.
it might be, but it's like, do I want to stay true to what's there? Well, I'm going to try and see how it does. I'm just coming in and creating more dirt color in this path with that kind of peachy tone. And back here we have some dark shadows up under the trees here, so I'm just going to pull in some of that purpley. It's not be that dark, but see how I changed I'm holding the brush from the end. I really like, it's really freeing to hold it back.
You
It
find
also,
sitting is, you can still do it sitting? I mean, like, do you prefer to paint sitting?
it depends.
Yeah.
If I really want to be loose, I stand up.
Mm-hmm.
But I've done enough. I feel like I've done enough of both that I know how to loosen up
Yeah.
when I'm sitting too. All right. There's a couple of orange bits way up here that I missed. I want to put that in before I put in the green. Again, it's just a blur. It's just suggested. I'm going to redefine this path back here just a little bit more. And that's too dark on that side. So I'm going to clean this. Well, no, I'm going to do some grass first. All right, I already have some green mixed. To me, it looks a little vibrant.
What colors did you mix it with?
Cad yellow with ultramarine. And then I added a touch of orange to dull it. So,
It almost looks like a manicured lawn
Mm-hmm.
in
Yeah.
that photo, and you know it's not.
I don't want it to be that pure.
Yeah. It looks odd with
so-
the fall colors.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And again, it might be where I put it in, I go, I don't like it. And right now I'm not feeling it. But that's what's fun about, to me, painting, is you can change things. Or you can manipulate. Well, that's kind of redundant. Manipulate and paint and change things, it's kind of the same thing. Alright, so I'm gonna Put some darker tones back there. I just turned my brush sideways, giving the feel of trees up and down. I'll make underneath that a little darker. I'm going to bounce around with some greens here. Notice I haven't even worried about any of the trunks. I'm taking a dark green that I made with phthalo green, mixing it with purple.
Phthalo green you have out there?
I mean, a phthalo blue that I made a green out of. The lemon yellow, phthalo green, kind of gives it a turquoisey look, but it was too turquoisey. So I'm coming back with, but I wanted a darker green, and I wanted it cool.
Lemon yellow, phthalo blue, and then a touch of purple.
So
Okay.
again, some of that's not dark enough. I'll come back with alizarin and a little more purple. Dull it down just a little bit, but create some really good, some darker darks back in there.
That's beautiful.
That it's subtle. And there's a darker dark in through here. The end of the path. Some of the darker darks then can be even in the tree. And there's some darker darks way up in here. Because we've got some real dark. It's kind of scary to do that, isn't it?
Oh yeah.
But it's there in the picture.
It's there.
We believe you.
But see how fun it is to paint with this.
Eating a brush.
Yeah. I mean,
I need to get
I
me
just-
one.
I'll just take one and
Butcher it.
butcher it. Yeah. You really have to not be nice to it, and you think, I've even, well, you bring it, I'll cut it up for you if you want me to. Some people really have a hard time doing that. Okay, this is pretty extreme, but right now I don't have the extreme of the trunks in yet. So, because I don't have those darks established, this looks a little harsh. So, okay. What time wise am I doing?
I don't know.
You're at 27 minutes.
That's not bad.
It's
Okay.
10 of 2.
Huh?
It's 10 of 2.
Okay. Because I want y'all to have time to paint. Whether you do your underpainting or what. Okay, so I realized I stopped at the shadow. Don't ever do that. Paint on the other side. Hold this.
What does that mean? Stopped at the shadow?
Oh, I stopped.
I see. You didn't put the green in the
I didn't
foreground.
finish the foreground here.
Gotcha.
And I also didn't paint. I'm going to pick up some more of that alizarin. I'm creating more of a dirt color down here. And then I'll come back over. There went my photo reference.
Thank goodness for OtterBox.
Yeah. Okay. Because it's on a panel, I taped it to a cardboard piece. And I'm just going to pick it up. It's also resting on blocks I got at the dollar store. Yeah. It's any way to lift it up off a little bit. Okay, so right now, I don't mind too much this green in here because it's neutral. You see how neutral this is compared to this?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so I want to neutralize some of this, but I don't mind some of it. But because there's all this over here and not much over here, I want to make sure that now there is some green in here. And once I'm going to add it over here first before I decide if I'm going to eliminate some of this over here. So I'm just spreading the green out, sharing the love, so to speak. But see, that already looks better.
Mm-hmm.
It was bothering me because it was all on one side, and I didn't like that. So I'm liking the feel of that better.
Yeah.
There's parts of that that's lighter, so I can come back in with some lighter greens. That was just lemon yellow added to a mixture of green to. Now I don't want too much light there because that's in a shadow. So you have to be careful with the values that you add in different places. You don't want, like, all your lights should be the top half of your value scale, 1 to 5. And your darkest, what is that? I say your darkest light should be lighter than your lightest dark. Yeah.
We sound like cult
I
followers.
know.
Let's put that on a T-shirt.
It also sounds like we have memorized it like our multiplication tables, doesn't it?
The Kool-Aid
I
girls.
love being the student and not being in charge.
Okay, so
What'd you put in our coffee, Carrie?
I don't know. All right,
Something
so
good.
while y'all are laughing about what we've learned,
We
I'm
can
just
say
gonna-
it, but do we know it?
Do it? No.
Practice it.
Well,
Don't
right
make
there.
me laugh while I'm drinking my Kool-Aid.
but
Gotta
again,
clean out your
I
sinuses.
know, it'll go everywhere.
but you see how fun this brush is in the fact that, now I've established some of those other colors and I can come in with some of the ones that are in the background, kind of in between, leaving the sky color. You don't want to cover up all your sky. And if I run into this dark, that's okay, because it kind of just melds together.
So that's a mid value there.
Good vocabulary there. Awesome. Yeah, so it's.
I'm just trying to understand.
What you say?
Teacher's pet.
Did you see she said it quiet enough it wouldn't be on the video?
But watch Dinah repeat. What did she say? Y'all are cracking me up.
I
Okay.
love that green though. I wondered when you were going to put that in there.
But you see how it's working
Yes.
Yeah.
now? Okay, one thing that I don't like is that right there. To me, my eye's drawn to that little part right there. That's just a little too dull for where it is.
Oh, the
in your
darker
photo.
list.
This right here.
I sent you this. that we sent
It
out
needs to be a
before we
little
joined our
brighter
group.
because
Oh
it's
my
in the
God.
sun.
Uh-huh.
Oh my
So-
God.
Mhm.
So, what are y'all
Debbie
talking
said
about?
That's it.
That picture Debbie sent me of the lightest dark is darker than the darkest light. I sent
Oh.
it to Hillary. So she can
Okay.
be part of the Tuesday group. that
Thank you.
has that.
Let's all get the T-shirt in the coffee mug.
Oh, we should do that.
Say 10 times fast.
Okay,
Whoa.
that's too dark. I need.
like it.
Well, one thing I'm doing is I've used all my yellow on my palette, so it's one of those things where
Can I
you
take a
start fighting your palette, and